filming?
I think the most important thing I learned was actually about slides, like the flow control. And a trick I learned from Luigi where if you set the transition on Keynote to dissolve and then make one small difference, it will look like it's animating to the next thing. He used that and I really liked it. I also learned how to research, how to interview people, and I learned to think of peer review help as friends helping friends rather than annoying peer review. And I really enjoyed practicing how to fail speeches in the ring. I think watching Greg collapse was a very funny moment. And I also really like presenting in front of the class. I didn't expect it to be so much fun. I just feel like I get so much energy when I'm up and speaking. And sending smiles around the room. Holding a comfortable, open posture, as like Steve suggested to us. It just makes everything so much more fun and enjoyable. And I think my darkest despair was when midterm season was coming about and I was falling behind and I wasn't exactly sure yet how my topic even relates to leadership at all. But at the end of it, what I learned about communication and leadership was almost to work together as a team, because between all the people that you have to interview and talking with your professor and putting things down on paper and practicing in front of people and getting feedback, you really have to learn how to take feedback from many different sources and put it all together. And I learned about status and alignment in my topic of humble bragging, meaning the actual content about humble bragging. And I got to enjoy other people's presentations. I learned from Sid the importance of failure, and I appreciated from Sean the importance of showmanship in presidential elections. And I learned to always keep caste in mind. And I'm glad that I got to practice improv persuasion, for example, with President Hennessy, because I think that one of the most important skills that we can have is to be able to not only persuade people, but to be able to do it when we're right on the spot, when they're walking right there on the path and we have to stop them and we only have 1 minute to give our elevator pitch. So I'm glad that I got to practice that. And I also learned to think about the audience when, in one point, Pablo did a very good job of offering me cookies when I played a third grader. And I found that that was far more effective than when I tried to convince him with logic when he was a third grader. And I think of leadership as being like the tunes that are played by a piano, where the rhetoric is a music sheet. And to learn piano, you need not only the music, you also need to have a good teacher, and you also need to have a lot of practice. And so I think that we've done a good job of composing our own music sheets by doing research on rhetoric, and we've gotten to practice a little bit by talking, and we've had a good teacher, but we still need to practice everything like out in the field, actual leadership with real teams and outside of just the classroom setting. And that's what I look forward to in the future, and that's how I think about my leadership in the future and things that I want to do. I'd like to be playing music that is demonstrating humility, grit, passion, and vision. And now, finally, I'd like to remind you that many of us will be going into leadership positions. And just this network in this room is going to be very powerful. If we think that staying up late one night to cram to finish up a paper is of dark despair, like midterm season is dark despair, then we are a little spoiled. There will be much harsher times for us, and times that call for far more leadership than we've had to demonstrate just so far in this class. And then when that time comes, we might need help, and we'll need to be open to rely on each other. From this class, from this network, among our friends, we are all starting with the same basic tools, and we'll only be able to grow by practicing those in the field where it's more difficult and more emotional. We will need friends to rely on.
And the most important thing to remember is that whatever situation we find ourselves in, we've been blessed with a head start, and we've been blessed with a supportive network. And no matter how harsh of times we find ourselves in the future, always remember that you can just grab a Belgian truffle, grab a tangerine, and you have the power to power through.